Yeah.
So when did this happen that you decided you needed to write this book, I guess? When you needed to somehow intellectually and emotionally integrate these experiences into a self that you could,
Well, I mean, I think it was
somehow.
just an accident in a sense. I mean, the fact that Klima's book, that I came across the Christopher Smart book, and in particular, actually, Mark Thompson's book about quiche, at the end of the 20th century, suddenly seemed to me like
What's going on with you
my
in
20th century.
2013?
I don't remember
So long
specifically.
ago.
So long ago. But
I also noticed that there are these funny repetitions in the book where things that shouldn't be evoking each other do. One of which is, as you said, Buster Brown's America was the title of the section we started reading there.
Yeah.
And you would go to Buster Brown's shoe store, as I did as a child, for your shoes. We didn't have the little X-ray machine to check your shoes.
I'm sorry you missed that.
But it sounds to me like it was bogus in some way.
No,
But-
I have since I wrote that essay, many people have written to me about it.
Oh, where did it appear that you...
It appeared in the American Scholar.
Ah.
And when it appeared in the American Scholar, Ann Fadiman had been the editor who took the piece, and they changed editors, and the new editor had sort of jazzed up the American Scholar. So the essay appeared with these illustrations, including the box, the X-ray box.
Ah.
Yeah, and so it was a real
I don't
thing.
mean it didn't exist. I'm saying that the technology seems a little
Well, yeah.
shady.
But, yeah.
Um,
I mean, I
but
don't think my shoes fit any better.
Yeah.
So-
the you didn't mention Buster Brown had a dog. Buster
I
Brown
paid no attention.
had his own Jeffrey, as it were. He always appeared as a little head of this child, and as you say, it was unclear how this marketed the shoes better.
Yeah.
And he had a little dog. It was right there, with like Arf Goes Sandy in Little Orphan Annie. And I think that these were animated in some of the TV commercials.
That may be, I don't know.
You wouldn't have seen them at your stage, but later.
Yeah.
But at a certain point, as you predicted, the shoe store was a little bit on the kind of down and out.
Yeah.
And it went out of business. And there's all the boxes outside, just as had happened with the bookstore. Or
that's
had
true.
happened in the book, would happen later in life.
That's true.
The bookstore here in Seacliff, and all the books left out. And I remember when the very great bookstore that was at Columbia, when I went there, I'm blanking on the name now. It's like Stadler, but it's not. It began with an S, and it was on Broadway across from the campus. And they were put out of business by Columbia because Columbia wanted to have a successful bookstore and raise the rent quite extravagantly and drove them out. And first there was a sale, and it was the kind of bookstore you went in. There was some shopping area for books, but they weren't really irrelevant. What books you wanted, you had to go to a desk at the back with this guy named John who knew every book ever written. And you would tell him the books you wanted, and he would call down to the basement, and they would come up on a dumbwaiter. I remember going in there and looking for Archie and Mehitable. Do you know Archie and Mehitable?
Yeah. That's right, yeah.
The old columns from the Baltimore Sun. And he was like, I said, there's a book, Archie, and he goes, Archie Mehitable, Don Marcus, and he like walks out from the desk and climbs this ladder, to about, I don't know, 15 feet up, pulls the book down and brings that. Anyway, they got out of business, and they ended up with a dumpster, giant dumpsters full of books.
Wow.
And people roaming through it, the books.
Wow. Oh, there's an image for
it was, to me, it was like, it might have been, that might have been when Reagan actually was elected, except it was, 3 or 4 years
Very
earlier.
symbolic.
Yeah. Either that or when Rocky won the Academy Award, I'm not sure. But anyway, these images keep appearing and reappearing. You know, and this is one of them. Is the store closed?
Stuff left over. Eviction.
This eviction propelling him outward. The loss of the stuff. You know, et cetera, et cetera. It's funny how the unconscious works.
That's true.
And
very funny.
I knew the culture was in trouble when I taught a class at Columbia in the graduate school in nonfiction, and the class denied that that the unconscious had any role to play in their nonfiction because they were running nonfiction. And I'm like, okay, kids, we got a lot of work to do here. So to take it back, then. There's these triggering events around 2013 get you started on this book, but there's this underlying. Well, what happened when you read The Smart? What? How did it hit you?
Well, I mean, I think that the three books, you know, the Pannonian books, you know, so so Quiche resuscitates.
Tell our audience what Pannonian means.
Quiche is a Serbo-Croat writer, great Serbo-Croat writer, and he sort of resuscitates the notion of Pannonia. So Pannonia was the province at the very, very northwestern edge of the Roman Empire, actually called Pannonia. So going like from what now is what was Yugoslavia, almost all the way to Poland, that whole Pannonian plain. And
Ukraine would be in there. And
Ukraine, Slovakia,
Czech,
maybe just up to Poland, but you know, and he resuscitates it because he hated the notion of Yugoslavia and of any nationalism, and he wanted a term for not simply the geographical location, but for the metaphorical location, the symbolic location,
and cultural,
the whole sort of shtick.
Identity. Yeah.
So the books out of Pannonia are the books about this sort of Transylvanian history, black, dark,
bloody,
centuries, bloody, people killing each other for centuries on end. Of which the Holocaust is the most representative experience, let's say. But the Smart showed that under circumstances very much like the Holocaust, you could rejoice. You could find joy in the cat who you happen to have as a companion. And so
in the room in which you've been locked.
In the room in which you've been locked.
So there's a visit in the book, and a very important one, to Theresienstadt, or what do you call it, Terezin?
Yeah, Terezin, yeah.
And which was the sort of brochure-ready first
right.
concentration camp, I guess, in Czechoslovakia, or it was near Prague, I guess, is it?
Yeah, fairly near, not very far, like an hour's drive out of Prague.
And Klima had been locked up there.
He and his entire family for most of the war.
And survived.
And all of them survived.
And his entire family.
His entire family were in Terezin and survived, amazingly.
But there's a room in which he's locked. There's a scene. You go and visit the place, and
yes.
One of the rooms has somebody has written some sort of invocation there about this is where my husband and our father stayed. And there's a room for Christopher Smart in which this other thing happens.
Yes,
this,
very similar,
this,
really.
Joyous, kind of transcendental religious experience. And you mentioned in the book, and I think we can sort of finish by thinking about this, Freud's book, which he sent to his French.
Civilization is Discontent?
No, the book you mentioned was, I had never heard of this book, a 1927 late book, and which his friend said, I agree with you about religion.
No, it's at the beginning of Civilization is Discontent.
Oh.
It's Romain Rolland.
Romain Rolland, right. I knew he was a Frenchie.
Nobel Prize winner. And he wrote Freud to say, you're right about religion, but you're not right about the religious experience.
You don't have anything about the religious experience, it seems to be saying.
And this is the origin of the oceanic feeling. So he says, Roland writes to Freud and says, I experience this sense of oneness with everything. Which I call the oceanic feeling. And Freud basically says, I don't have this feeling.
Yeah.
So
He's
forget about it.
But it sounds like you had the feeling.
Well, I don't think I've had the feeling, no. But I mean, I can. It's a feeling that I can make sense of, in the sense
Is
that.
it a feeling you want? Or
I
you're
don't know
good
the
now.
answer.
You're good. You got it.
I don't know.
You're
fine.
fine.
I'm fine with it. I mean, it'd be good to have. Well, I mean, it's a different matter. But perhaps it's related to smart. I mean, to put it differently. So in that room, in Terezin basically was two locations: the fortress, which was built by Maria Theresa, hence Theresienstadt, hence Terezin, and the town. Most people, the concentration camp was really the town. If you got stuck in the prison, you'd done something bad. But there were a lot of people in the prison. And when I first went there in 1978, what had been kept by the communist authorities was the prison, although they didn't do anything. There was no one there, literally. I mean, I spent my entire day there. I didn't see a single human being.
So there's not even a clerk letting you in? Or
there is a clerk letting you in.
And then
That's it. And he wasn't there when I left. But, so, it's an 18th century fortress. And in some of these rooms, these were like very familiar concentration camps, bunks. And sometimes family had come, as I say, and on a table they would have left something. So these were places where, one should really have a horrified reaction to. But actually they're quite beautiful. They're kind of these vaulted spaces in the same sort of architecture that, let's say, St. Mark's Cathedral in Venice has, with these arches leading to arches. So you have this very strange experience.
And by the way, you compared the original synagogue
also
to
St. Mark.
To St. Mark, so that's interesting. But anyway,
it's that oriental, that cupola sort of thing. So you have this strange experience of being in this place that is a death camp, but physically is actually very aesthetically pleasing. And so you realize that, as I suppose, I don't know, whatever philosopher has said, there is no experience that is so horrible, that is only horrible. And there is no experience that is so wonderful, that is only wonderful. And we try to make sense of experience by editing out so that we can establish order.
Right.
But
this
actually,
is the good stuff, this is the bad stuff.
Yeah, don't feel that.
Yeah.
But actually, of course, that's not what living experience is.
And of course, the book ends with a visit to the cemetery of your friend's. Where your friend's wife has put him finally, and it's a very lovely place.
And it's a very lovely place.
So that, in fact, the prison room and the room of oceanic joy can be the same thing in certain
Right, I think that's
psychological
true.
cases.
Right. I mean, I suppose that, in this book, as in Against Capitulation, at the end, it's hard to find the thing that's quite right. Where would you like to be buried?
That the book opens sort of with that.
With this question.
And it
so
ends
it's
with the place she found.
Try to find it. She found this great place, but I think I don't want to be buried here. Against Capitulation, I went back to Slovakia looking for the recipe for cheese buns because I love these Slovak cheese buns. I remember these Slovak cheese buns. And I spent a tremendous amount of work when I got back from Slovakia trying to make these bloody cheese buns. And I sort of did okay, but they were never quite right.
Well, there you have it.
There you have it.
It's a pursuit of art, joy, God, and cheese buns.
Cheese buns first. Okay. Thank you very much.